Holt Jones. I'm excited to get you on here. I'll introduce you again.
Yep,
Yeah,
nice to meet
Holt
you.
Jones, drafted by the Marlins here, pitcher of the Marlins organization, out of California. I'm from California, but I'm from the Bay. You're from, SoCal and all that kind of stuff. How California are you? Because I see the flow. You're tall. Like from a scale of like 0 to like walking around with a skateboard and puka shells. Like how California were you growing up?
I'll put it at like a 6.5.
Were you a skateboarder or no?
I skateboarded one time, fell off, almost broke my arm, so that was a no-go. Don't surf, but boogie boarding and everything like that, so
Dude. Yeah. What's your favorite city in like SoCal?
Favorite city? I'd go with Santa Monica just because I grew up there and I know it.
Yeah, the pier is beautiful. Like
Exactly.
it's like gorgeous. So I grew up in Oakland, Richmond kind of area. I don't know how familiar you are in NorCal. I do know this though, in California, especially in Southern California, there's so much baseball talent.
Oh yeah.
Like how was your whole like childhood growing up in the baseball world, and like how did you kind of fit in amongst all the other talent? Because like I said, it's just full of talent. They're just like pumping out like arms.
Yeah, so honestly, like growing up, I mean, on my travel team, most of the guys were committed, and I didn't commit until I was my senior fall.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I was like pretty bottom tier. Like I didn't play most of my junior year or sophomore summer. I didn't play at all. So I wasn't really like a well-known name or like a big prospect at all. But yeah, especially like it was my draft class. We had Hans Krause, Hunter Green, and Royce Lewis. So it was like
Yeah, those are some dudes.
So it was pretty stacked.
That's crazy. So you didn't commit to your senior year. What other universities were you looking at, and like how was the whole recruitment process? Because obviously you're drafted now, so it all worked out for you.
Yeah, so thankfully it all worked out. Started with some smaller schools, like some non-power fives, and then once it gained like more attention, I was looking at Michigan State or Clemson.
Okay.
And then I ended up deciding to go with Clemson. Yeah.
No, you don't want to like. Were you interested in like Cal or Stanford or like USC or any of the like SoCal schools?
So I never talked to Cal or Stanford.
Okay.
I talked to USC and UCLA.
Okay.
And the time I was talking to them is when I was also talking to Clemson. And yeah, so I committed before I got into like serious talks with them.
Were you just trying to get out of California?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I like went to a ton of USC football games, so like college sports were big for me.
Sure.
And I just like found out that in the South it's just way bigger there, and that's something I wanted to do. And then I visited the South my freshman summer with my sister because she was looking at schools, and I fell in love with Clemson. There's a couple other Southern schools I really wanted to go to.
Yeah, you talk about the college, and like obviously Clemson, like they're one of the best college football programs. And did they ever lose when you were there?
I know they lost to Pitt the year before I got there. We had the LSU loss in championship. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But other than that, Bama, my freshman year, we lost. But, I mean, got a national championship while others there is pretty much all you can ask for.
Dude, how sick was that then? Like, I mean, obviously, like, you have, did your coach, like, have, like, some, like, practices the night before, the day of, so you guys didn't go too hard or no?
Thankfully, never on Saturday, never on game day, just because the traffic in Clemson, if it's a game day, you can't get anywhere. It's just, the streets are just packed. So it's terrible, but we had practices on Sundays and Fridays before and after. Yeah.
So how was, like, the tailgate scene? Because obviously, like, they do it differently than, like, Pac-12 and, like, here in the Midwest. Like, they're known for like it's just a party out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun time. I mean, thankfully we had a ton of kids from South Carolina, so their parents, I mean, they grew up Clemson fans, so they had tailgates that we would go to, and just luckily they like fed us and everything, and just gave us everything we needed. So it was a great time.
Dude, that's cool. What was your favorite team to pitch against in college? Maybe their fans are a little extra chirpy, and you're like, all right, I'm shoving.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Definitely South Carolina, just because of the hatred, and that was one of my best outings I've had. Yeah, so definitely that one, because that one was just always, whenever we played them, I liked how we did the home, away, neutral site. That was kind of special to me, because I don't know how many teams do that.
Yeah.
But definitely South Carolina.
Dude, that's so sick. What was your favorite college memory?
Favorite college memory? I think my sophomore year I came in against South Carolina, and it was the first time my parents saw me play in college.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so being able to spend it with like my mom and dad who helped me get there was pretty important to me.
So you go from the ACC to the SEC. Was there like a huge like difference between the two conferences, you think, in your opinion?
I don't know if it's there's definitely a difference. I think it's just more so deeper. Like, you'll just see guys on like the lower end teams that have a lot more talent than like someone in the ACC, but they're both like, they're pretty comparable. I'd say like SEC, ACC, but yeah.
I don't know if I read this or heard this about you, that you were just like a huge competitor on the mound. Maybe it was like a video I saw and you're just like screaming or something. Like, how is that? How does it, like, when you're pitching, like, what kind of emotions do you kind of like thrive off that?
Yeah, I kind of thrive off kind of like anger, kind of that. It's kind of more so, I remember the clip you're talking about. It was more of like an out-of-body experience, like kind of not really in control, but it does get exciting in those big-time situations in college.
What do you do to get yourself hyped up here to pitch?
So that's kind of what I've been working on with since I'm switching from starting to bullpen.
Yeah.
With that, it's kind of just like talking to myself in my head and just stuff like that, like trying to get myself going and just prepared to go.
Are you like a Red Bull, smelling salts? Like, what do you do?
None of those. Kind of, I do like energy drinks sometimes during the day, but kind of just like talking myself up, just hyping myself up, trying to be my own hype man,
kinda
stuff
like
like that.
Natural like adrenaline.
Exactly.
Dude, that's so sick. How was that decision then, or like what went to that decision to go from starting to being a reliever, and like what was that big difference? Like, what has been the biggest difference for you?
I think the biggest difference is like when I was starting, I catered 6 days to my 7th, my start day.
Yeah.
And then the difference now is basically I have to take them way more day by day, like because I threw on Tuesday and then Wednesday, Thursday, trying to just get my arm back as quick as possible to throw again. Yeah.
So, do you prefer starting or relieving? Because you've done both, and you've done them well.
I like starting just because I like having my one day.
Yeah.
But relieving is also fun. Like especially in college, it was definitely fun coming in those big time moments.
Oh yeah, and then you just let the arm eat. You know, throw a couple innings or whatever it is, and just like how hard are you throwing?
It's low 90s, around there, low to mid 90s.
That's awesome. Any advice for like high school kids or kids, you know, maybe even in who get drafted on throwing harder? Because like obviously throwing gas is like the thing to do now.
Definitely don't blow out like during the week. Like just rip and pull downs every day. Yeah. Listen to your arm, like that, but also like know when you have days where you feel really good. I'd say like push yourself. You know, it's like growing. Yeah, but
that's awesome. What has been like, or when was your if to when moment? Because you get drafted by the Marlins. Like when was that moment in college where you're like, all right, I feel like I'm not saying to myself if I get drafted. I'm thinking like when I get drafted.
I think by like sophomore fall, because that's when I started throwing. Like I was consistently in the 90s. Because my freshman year I was probably like sat around 90, but like my sophomore fall I hit like 95 for the first time, and that's when I kind of like realized that. And then when I had some success in like ACC play, like that's when I probably thought I was going to get drafted.
So in high school then, were you strictly a PO or like what were you position player also?
Yep, strictly a PO. A lot of trouble with the curve, but
gotcha. Okay, and I feel like, because you said you weren't throwing very hard, but in California, like I feel like every kid out there is throwing like mid-90s in high school.
So I think in high school I was probably up to like I hit 90 probably once or twice, but I sat around like 87-ish in high school. Yeah.
So what has been your favorite moment as a minor leaguer? Or maybe like your welcome to the minor league moment. Like you're like, all right, I'm not flying private planes anymore or fancy, ACC, SEC, travel.
Yeah, I'd say probably in spring training when you like see a guy in the weight room and you're like, oh my God, that's Sandy Alcantara. And just like that, or like Jazz. The first year we got drafted, Jazz was rehabbing, and like seeing him take BP and like being in the same dugout with him, like that's just like kind of an awe moment.
Because you talk about 2 different like stars. Like who's someone who you've seen, you're like, oh my God, I watched you on TV. Like growing up or in college and stuff.
Honestly, Sandy, because before like I got drafted, I was watching his mechanics to try and be like smooth as he is, and then seeing him, so I'd say him.
So you're also a California guy. So were you like a big LA or Los Angeles, Anaheim, or whatever they were at that time when you were, because they're always changing their name, or like Dodgers, or what was your team?
So I did like the Dodgers and Kershaw, but my team like growing up was the Yankees because all my dad's side's from Connecticut.
Oh, my descendants now then.
I know. I got a lot of like flag growing up because I was a Lakers, Cowboys, and Yankees fan.
Oh, geez, like the typical,
the big three. But yeah, it's definitely the Yankees, and then kind of just faded off once I got drafted.
That's awesome. I grew up a big A's fan. Like I was born in Oakland, so like we would go to A's games all the time. We had season tickets and stuff. What about football? Like
football, USC definitely. USC is my number one like growing up, and then now USC and Clemson, and then the Cowboys were there, but now I've transferred I've transferred to be a Chargers fan now.
I was gonna say, because I mean, were the Chargers? They were San
Diego then.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like Chargers fans, even like I'm a Raider fan. I mean, it sucks to be a Raiders fan, but I mean, whatever. It is.
I know.
It is what it is. But I mean, I feel like whenever we go there, whenever other teams go to San Diego, they just like, I feel like they don't have fans. That's what.
It's definitely, it's kind of like the Angels with the Dodgers, because like the Rams, like they won a Super Bowl. Yeah. It's like they're the big drawer, but I think the Chargers, hopefully this year, get it done in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I know.
What has been like one of the weirder things you've been asked to autograph?
Honestly, dude, the weirdest thing, it's just more abnormal. It was a black bat with a black Sharpie.
A black bag?
Black bat.
Oh, bat.
With a black Sharpie.
Was it like a bat that someone here had given some person, or was it someone just brought their bat from home and they're like, this looks about right?
No, yeah. Well, a fan came with a wooden bat, and it was black with a black Sharpie, so, like, the silver, I think it was, like, Louisville Slugger logo. Everyone signed on that, but it was just, like, completely filled up by the end.
You can't see it.
Yeah, so that was, like, weird to me, because it was just, like, it was a bold strategy.
Yeah. We'll see how it worked out. I'm going to say this, and people have told me, I've done some, obviously, Skycorp interviews. Your guys' jerseys, the blue, is so sick, dude.
Yeah, I like the blue ones a lot.
Yeah, those are so clean. What has been your favorite jersey? Because obviously the minor leagues have a ton of different cool jerseys and stuff. What has been your favorite jersey that you guys have worn?
Favorite jersey? I did like this was in Jupiter. We had Margaritaville jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
So it had islands and, like, everything for Jimmy Buffett. That was a pretty fun one.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What has been your most favorite city to travel to?
Favorite city?
Or maybe,
Yeah.
because you travel in the minor leagues.
I think it was probably South Bend. South Bend's pretty fun. Yeah, just because it's a college town, it's a big city, so that's a good one.
Do they? I think they have it here, like the K batter. Like they have that,
Yep.
right? Do you ever, when you're facing them, you feel like a little extra motivation?
Sometimes you definitely didn't hear it, but, like, I think it's one of those things where, like, after the fact, if it happens, then you're like, then you know. But, like, I don't really get caught up in the moment of it. Yeah, I try not to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who was, like, somebody you grew up with? You mentioned Kershaw and Sandy Alcantara. Like, who was somebody else? Like, maybe that's like your team growing up, like, or that specific player where, like, man, I want to just, like, model my career after him.
It was definitely, like, Jeter until I outgrew being a shortstop.
Typical Yankees fan, whatever.
So I wasn't a little leaguer anymore, and then it's definitely DeGrom and Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
Those two, just watching them throw, I was just like,
dude,
cannot want to be like that.
That's so cool. Do you have any hidden talents?
I have, like, 3 card tricks, but if you know anything about Magic, you'd be like, that's pretty bad.
You'll point them out right away.
Yeah.
Bro, not me,
so,
I wouldn't know.
That, or I'd probably say trivia. Pretty good at
one of those,
trivia.
like, trivia buffs. Like, what, like, any specific category, or you're just like anything? You're just like,
It's kind of like knowing stuff that someone's like, why do you even know that? Like, you probably shouldn't know that.
Yeah.
And it's just like
you had enough Snapples
useless
in your
knowledge.
life where you're like, I know.
Yeah, just useless knowledge. Just throw that. Just have stuffed up there. Yeah.
That's funny. The season's coming to an end. What are your off-season plans?
Off-season plans, definitely go home, see my family. That's the first thing. Hopefully get some golf in and then just training for next season.
You're a big golfer?
Those are my 3 things. Family, golf, and training for next season.
How good of a golfer are you?
I'm pretty good with my strokes. When I get my handicap strokes, I think I can do pretty well.
Okay. I heard Cade Gibson's a good golfer.
Yeah, Cade's by far the best, but I'm pretty much the long ball, then after that, in between's pretty rough.
Wow. What has been your favorite moment as a minor leaguer? Maybe a game where you're like, all right, that I'm gonna tell my grandkids about that moment.
That's tough. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't pick out one moment because, like,
Yeah, no worries. Let's end on this. Actually, 2 things. Fantasy football. You a big fantasy football guy?
Yeah, I am. I have some hot takes in fantasy football that I don't know if my teammates would agree with.
All right, give me one of your hot takes.
Hot takes. Justin Herbert, top 5 fantasy quarterback.
Okay.
And I put Garrett Wilson top 10. I don't know if that's too hot, but Garrett Wilson top 5 wide receiver.
All right, we'll save this. We'll save this, and I'll play it next year. Who wins the Super Bowl?
I mean, I have to say the Chargers, but Cowboys. I would ride with the Cowboys. This year they get it done in the NFC.
Dude,
they take the next step. Dak Prescott takes the next step this year with Brandon Cooks.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
What are 2 things you're grateful for?
2 things I'm grateful for. Definitely my family. Family, one, and just like the support of coaches and just like the positive influences in my life.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey, man, I want to thank you for coming on. Just spend a couple minutes here and chopping it up, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, man.